It was one to forget for the Arizona Cardinals, but if they don't take anything away from this loss, they could be dead in the water come playoff time. They will eventually clinch one, but let's get through this crappy game the performance that was between the Arizona Cardinals and the Detroit Lions dominating Arizona. The Arizona Cardinals fall to 10-4. We're getting into it here. It's our reaction podcast. It's Bo and Alex, Locked On Cardinals.
You are Locked On Cardinals, your daily Arizona Cardinals podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Not very good. Actually, atrocious. Pretty bad. Arizona Cardinals fall to the Detroit Lions in Detroit. And it was, 30-12 was the final score. And Colt McCoy, that usually is a key to the victory for the Arizona Cardinals, according to Alex Clancy. If Colt McCoy is in the game, didn't expect this one. We didn't expect him to come out for the final drive of the game for the Cardinals, who just got dominated in every single area against the team that had one win going into the contest. It's about the most discouraging thing. This is the low point of the 2021 season. At least you hope it is. But when you look at the upcoming schedule as well, now you're starting to scramble to find, can they beat any of these teams going forward? Can they kind of recapture the magic that they had early on? But getting into this contest and keeping it more kind of geared towards that. What went wrong on Sunday for the Arizona Cardinals?
They left their brains in Phoenix. They left their heart in Phoenix. I think that there's what was the little girl with the Tin Man and the lion? What's that movie
Wizard
called?
of Oz? Dorothy?
Yeah, it's kind of Wizard of Oz kind of vibe here. There's a joke there. I don't know where it is. Maybe I'll find it. Atrocious is the right word. I'm glad you brought your thesaurus here on a Sunday. It like I was trying to think of it the other way. What was the one redeeming quality? There wasn't a COVID outbreak. There's no redeeming quality that we saw on the field for the last 60 minutes. And that's not, I understand that people are upset when negative things are said about their favorite team that they watch growing up. You find something positive that we just watched and DM me. Please do it, because you'd be an absolute mastermind finding something that maybe Antoine Wesley would be a great wide receiver 5. Is that it?
Maybe, I guess. I mean, get your foot down. Number one, he probably should have the ball being thrown to him on fourth down. When there was just minuscule, percent they can get back in the game, even with the touchdown, but still can't drag the second foot, hits the pylon, and next thing you know, it's the Detroit Lions football. But no, there's no silver lining here. The same thing. It's a forgettable, but it can't be forgettable in the sense that the Lions were running a lot of the same that the Los Angeles Rams were running on Monday Night Football, and they were even more successful in shutting down the Arizona Cardinals offense. They have to now. This is the game of chess that happens in the NFL, and Cliff Kingsbury's showing that in the second half he's not making the proper adjustments against opposing play callers that he needs to. Now it's time. You got to figure out. They figured you out. Now you have to make your next move to be successful offensively, because today was atrocious. I mean, I know that they got the touchdown. It doesn't matter. But for the bulk of the game, they were held out of the end zone.
Yeah, and for all the people, I can flip this now, but DeAndre Hopkins not being there, they didn't use him at all during the regular season anyways. They probably used him 40% of what another offense would use him for. And you look at, because they have so much depth. How'd the depth do today? How many balls did Christian Kirk drop? How irrelevant is Rondale Moore? How irrelevant is Zaven Collins and Isaiah Simmons? You look at all of what happened today, it's kind of the culmination of Steve Keim being an egomaniacal guy who doubles down on himself every time. And this is what the downside of it looks like. This is the dark side of the moon version of when the Cardinals started 7-0. And you think Tristan Wirfs would have been helpful today? You think a corner would have been helpful today when Zaven Collins wasn't on the field? They could have drafted there. I know that this is kind of piling on after a bad loss, but this is the worst of all losses. This makes them losing in the NFC Championship game look like a win. This is what it could look like moving forward because the games aren't going to get easier.
No, they're not.
So good.
You got a nightmarish matchup on Christmas, and another game at home, but it's going to be an odd week. It's going to be are the players going to be focused? Hopefully, this ass kicking that they just received, it was a wake up call. But who knows? I mean, and the biggest problem you have right now, I think, is your franchise quarterback. He's played poorly in the last 2 games. He's played very bad. And as far as the Arizona Cardinals, I mean, they came out in the second half. They're down 17-0. And this is a team that they got 3 points. Of course, you wanted them to find pay dirt in the end zone. They didn't. And then, next thing you know, they're getting the ball back. And Kyler Murray throws a brutal interception to set up another score. And the game's over. It's over.
Yeah. You didn't terrible too.
Yeah, you didn't get the first or the second half pick like we've seen so many times. You had to wait until the second series of the second half, but it was just as backbreaking, if not probably the most backbreaking of all the interceptions he's thrown really this season. It was very similar to last week against the Rams. It was where he threw a crucial interception and the game pretty much was put in the bag at that point.
Yeah. I will go back to a little ditty. If the offense isn't the strength of the Arizona Cardinals, why is Cliff Kingsbury here? And we've seen during the run before they lost today, the undefeated run was the defense was giving the Cardinals short fields, whether it be starting with Chandler Jones with 2 strip sacks and 5 sacks total against Tennessee, Cleveland, etc. The Cardinals defense was making it easier on the offense to put up points because they had less of a way to go. Look at what happened when the Cardinals defense can't do that. This is what we're left with looking at. A guy that cannot do it at the NFL level if he doesn't get bailed out. And I'm not. So listen, I texted Bo this, and we'll talk about this. We'll talk about this more in the full podcast. And I don't want to open up the can of worms now. Cliff Kingsbury should not be extended unless the Cardinals win the Super Bowl. And I'm not going to stand off that. It's true. This is just, do you want to wait till it's too late?
That's comical. That's comical.
You want to wait till it's too late?
What would be too late?
You want to wait till it's too late? After next year. Then Kyler Murray's rookie scale contract's up. Say they regress next year.
When have they regressed under him?
Okay.
When have they regressed?
You cannot give him credit for the 2018 to the 2019 jump.
I am.
It's a completely different team. Cliff would have been one and done if he was given that 2018 roster.
Okay, whatever. This is our post-game reaction pod. Okay. Yeah. I just think it's funny. They're 10-4 and you're sitting here and you want to like clean shop already. I mean, it's pretty absurd. These
are expectations. He's never won an important game that they had to win. Last year and this year, he hasn't won one. They could have clinched 3 weeks in a row now, and he can't win a game.
Yeah, 2 weeks in a row. 2 weeks in a row. That's when they released the playoff scenarios and the clinch was possible. They just they look horrible on both sides of the ball. I mean, the blueprint's out there. It's the opposing offense. They put themselves in third and manageable. They move the ball. They win the time of possession. And then on defense, they got that interior pressure up the middle against the guards that are struggling mightily for the Arizona Cardinals. And that seems to be the simple way to beat them. And they can't counteract that. And it's like the defense is just playing as poorly as the offense is at this point. I mean, we saw a Denver team go into Detroit or just beat up on the Lions easily because they could defensive football. They couldn't do that today. They couldn't take Jared Goff. The ultimate get-right game for Jared Goff is playing the Arizona Cardinals. It's pathetic. He's 8-1 against the Arizona Cardinals. He looks like a Hall of Fame quarterback against them. You thought it was going to change because of his jersey changed, but it didn't. He was great out there. Like you got to and look, the Arizona Cardinals played terrible. Like this loss is on them. But give credit to Aaron Glenn, the defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions. I thought he had a good game plan, and give credit to Jared Goff and Frank Dennis D. McReynolds, who is running the football out there for him, a guy who's activated because of a COVID positive test. Craig Reynolds. I mean, can you imagine if it's Jonathan Taylor running the ball back there? He would have gone for 250 yards and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah, you think a pirate lives in there? I miss It's Always Sunny. That was a nice reference. Thank you for that. Yeah, Jared Goff. Listen, I'm a Jared Goff truther. I
You
think that
are.
I think the Rams would be exactly where they are now with Jared Goff. 100%. I 100% think that. And he showed today that if you don't respect a quarterback who in the offensive line played incredibly well, that Penei Sewell, that left side of that line, they're set up for success. They didn't have DeAndre Swift or TJ Hawkinson. So get out of my mentions about the Cardinals being without Rodney Hudson. The whole offense, not named Jared Goff, wasn't on the field today. And they burned the Cardinals defense for sure. And I will just one more thing about Cliff. If you give him credit for wins, you have to give him this for losses.
I don't disagree with that.
Spoiler alert. I know that he's not making the plays. I know that he's not wearing a jersey. He wasn't very good at doing that either. So I know that he's not making the plays. I know he's not throwing the interceptions that Kyler Murray's throwing. But you cannot talk out of 7 different sides of your mouth when you give him all the credit and don't give him the constructive criticism and get offended when he coaches a terrible game. And Vance Joseph did also.
No.
Okay, this isn't all on
that's
Cliff.
not it. That's not it. That's not it. Because I think you could absolutely be critical of him, and you should be, especially after a performance like this week and then as far as last week goes too. But it's not, hey, he needs to be fired. There's a middle ground. There, especially in the NFL where it's so different week in and week out. I mean, you can and then you can look horrible the next week. People are pounding they want him out of here. I think that's absurd. But yeah, he was crappy today.
Yeah. I know that I'm looking 3 steps ahead because he's never, ever in the history of coaching, ever, not once, that he can win a game that matters. He's never been a good head coach. So the fact that we think that he's going to jump to the next level, a pre-calc student that gets upgraded, he gets an invitation to AP Calc in high school after getting an F in pre-calc. You think that he's going to be a good enough guy to coach this team to where they need to go. That is just insanity. So I hope that I'm wrong. I hope that they can make a deep push, and I hope that he can correct this ship. But sweet mother, it's not looking that way just like it didn't last year. And this time, you don't have Kyler Murray injury to piggyback on because Colt McCoy won 2 games for you.
Well,
so
and
I'm just curious. It's going to be interesting.
What they need, you have conversation too coming up about your quarterback, and it's not either or. It's not like he has played poorly, and he has been a big reason of why they've been unsuccessful. There's bigger